All right, you bastards. Let's just cut the crap and dive right into this shitstorm. Romeo Beckham, the prodigal son. You know, David Beckham's kid. Yeah, that's right. Another celebrity offspring trying to make a name for himself. But hold your horses. This time it's not about some bullshit fashion line or reality TV crap. This fucker actually tried to play real football.
It's certainly an interesting story. Most
Yeah.
people would assume he'd just be, chilling on a yacht, popping champagne with models. But this dude actually went for the grind, tried to make it as a pro footballer.
Right, like why even bother? The guy was born with a platinum fucking spoon shoved so far up his ass he could taste it.
Right.
Private schools, designer clothes, probably had a personal chef whipping up avocado toast before avocado toast was even a thing.
Oh, absolutely. The privilege is undeniable. But that doesn't automatically mean he's got no talent or ambition. The kid could have easily chosen a life of luxury and ease, but he went for something way more challenging.
Okay, I'll give you that. So, Romeo tries to walk in Daddy's shoes. Did he inherit any of that magical right foot? Could he bend it like Beckham? Or was it more like, hey, look at me, I'm Romeo fucking Beckham, pass me the ball?
His journey is more complicated than you might think. He started at Arsenal's academy, one of the best youth setups in the world. Imagine the pressure on that kid. Not only do you have to prove yourself, but you're constantly being compared to one of the biggest names in football history.
Arsenal? Shit, that's a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
Talk about a pressure cooker. I bet those other kids were looking at him like, this spoiled little prick thinks he could just waltz in here.
You have to imagine there was some resentment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems like the pressure got to him. He was released from the academy after a couple of years.
Ouch, that's gotta sting. Getting cut from a top academy, especially with that last name. That's brutal. So what'd he do? Did he throw a hissy fit and go cry in his mom's Birkin bag?
Surprisingly, no. He actually quit football entirely and took up tennis. Trained with Andy Murray for a bit, actually.
What the fuck? Tennis. Talk about a curveball. So was he just a spoiled brat dabbling in hobbies, or was there some genuine talent there?
Hard to say for sure, but he wasn't just messing around. He was training with Andy Murray, for Christ's sake. That's not exactly amateur hour.
Right, Andy Murray, the grumpy Scottish dude who wins Wimbledon. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe Romeo wasn't just a rich kid playing pretend. But then he does this 180 and decides to go back to football. The hell was that about?
He rejoins the game, joins Inter Miami II, which, as you know, is his dad's team. Now, you can't tell me that wasn't at least partly a PR move.
Come on, you're telling me it wasn't all about publicity. Beckham's kid playing for Beckham's team. That's a marketing wet dream right there.
Of course, there was a publicity element to it, but you can't dismiss his efforts outright. He did play in the USL League One, a professional league. Scored a couple of goals even.
Okay, so maybe he wasn't just there to sell jerseys and pose for Instagram pics. But was he any good? Give it to me straight. Was he actually a decent player? He wasn't setting the world on fire, that's for sure. His stats weren't anything to write home about. But then things get interesting. He goes on loan to Brentford B in England.
Brentford B. Isn't that like stepping up from playing in your backyard to joining a Sunday league team?
It's a step up in competition for sure, and Brentford is known for its data-driven approach to player development. They wouldn't take on a player just for the publicity. He played a few matches, even scored a dramatic last-minute winner in one.
Hold on. A last-minute winner. The kid's got some balls, I'll give him that.
Hmm.
So, was this a sign that he was actually improving? Or was Daddy pulling some strings behind the scenes?
It's hard to say for sure, but Brentford isn't exactly known for handing out favors. They're all about results. He clearly did something right to earn that opportunity and make an impact.
All right. I'm intrigued. So, Romeo Beckham, the privileged kid who could have been sipping mojitos on a private island, is actually out there grinding, trying to prove himself.
And he ends up signing a permanent deal with Brentford B.
Yeah.
That's a commitment, a sign he's serious about this football thing.
All right. I'm starting to see why you find this story so damn interesting. But let's be real. He's playing in the reserves, not exactly the big leagues. What's the point? Is he delusional, or does he actually think he can make it to the top?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is this a pipe dream, or is there a chance, however slim, that he could actually carve out a career for himself?
Okay, we've laid the groundwork. We know the backstory. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What kind of player is he? Is he a carbon copy of his dad, or is he a completely different animal?
Well, if you're expecting another David Beckham, you're going to be disappointed. Expert speaker. They're different players, entirely expert speaker. David was a master of those long pinpoint passes, expert speaker. Dead ball specialist, expert speaker. Could spray the ball all over the pitch, expert speaker. Romeo's more of an attacker, expert speaker. He likes to run at defenders, expert speaker. Get into the box, expert speaker. Try to score goals.
So more of a goal scorer than a playmaker.
Oh.
Host speaker. Less about setting up others, more about getting his own name on the score sheet. Host speaker. Sounds kind of selfish.
Not necessarily expert speaker. Every team needs players who can put the ball in the back of the net, expert speaker. And he's got decent pace, expert speaker. Good dribbling skills, expert speaker. Seems to have a knack for finding space in the penalty area, expert speaker. He's not afraid to take on defenders.
Okay, so he's got some balls. That's good, host speaker. But let's cut the crap and get to the point, host speaker. What are his actual strengths? Host speaker. What makes him a decent player?
One thing that stands out is his work rate, expert speaker. He doesn't shy away from putting in the effort, expert speaker. He's got that Beckham DNA, expert speaker, that engine that keeps him running, expert speaker, pressing, expert speaker, harassing defenders, expert speaker. Doesn't give up easily, expert speaker. He's also got decent tactical awareness, expert speaker. Reads the play well, expert speaker. Makes intelligent runs, expert speaker. Positions himself effectively.
All right, so he's got the hustle host speaker. He's got the smarts host speaker. But every player's got weaknesses. Host speaker, what's holding him back? Host speaker, what does he suck at?
His biggest weakness, at least from what I've seen, expert speaker, is his finishing, expert speaker. He can get into great positions, expert speaker, but often lacks that killer instinct in front of goal, expert speaker. His shots can be wild, expert speaker. His decision-making in the final third, a bit rushed, expert speaker. Needs more composure.
Classic young player problem, host speaker. All the potential in the world, host speaker. But can't seem to put the damn ball in the net, host speaker. Maybe he needs to spend some quality time with a finishing coach, host speaker. One who isn't afraid to yell at him a little.
Definitely expert speaker. If he can improve his finishing, expert speaker, become more clinical in front of goal, expert speaker, he could be a real threat, expert speaker. He's also got a bulked up expert speaker. He's a bit slight, expert speaker. Gets pushed around easily, expert speaker. Needs to hit the gym, expert speaker. Get stronger, expert speaker, if he wants to compete at a higher level.
Yeah, the championship is a fucking meat grinder, host speaker. Bunch of bruisers out there, host speaker. He's got to be able to hold his own against those bastards, host speaker. So what's the verdict? Host speaker. Can this kid actually overcome these weaknesses and make something of himself? Host speaker. Or is he destined to be just another rich kid who thought he could play football?
Tough question, expert speaker. He's got the raw talent, expert speaker, the name recognition, expert speaker, and obviously the support system, expert speaker. But that's not always enough, expert speaker. He needs that fire in his belly, expert speaker, that unwavering belief in himself, expert speaker, and the dedication to keep pushing, expert speaker. Keep improving.
And he needs to block out all the bullshit, host speaker, all the noise, host speaker, all the haters who think he's just a spoiled brat riding his daddy's coattails, host speaker. That's a lot to ask of a young guy.
No doubt, expert speaker. It's a constant battle, expert speaker. Proving yourself, expert speaker. Silencing the critics, expert speaker. But if he can handle the pressure, expert speaker, stay focused, expert speaker, and keep improving, expert speaker, he might just surprise everyone.
Yeah, we've talked about his journey, host speaker, his strengths, host speaker, his weaknesses, host speaker. But there's another side to this story, right? Host speaker. The psychological impact of growing up as David Beckham's fucking son, host speaker. Can you imagine the pressure? Host speaker. Everywhere he goes, he's not Romeo host speaker. He's David Beckham's kid.
Exactly, expert speaker. That kind of pressure can make or break a person, expert speaker. Some crumble under the weight of expectations, expert speaker. Others use it as fuel to prove themselves, expert speaker. It's fascinating to see how Romeo navigates that unique challenge.
All right, you've picked my curiosity, host speaker. Let's get into the head of this kid, host speaker. What's it like growing up with that kind of legacy hanging over your head?
It's got to be a mindfuck, right? Expert speaker. I mean, your dad isn't just dad expert speaker. He's a global fucking icon expert speaker. Every kid worships him, expert speaker, wants to be an expert speaker. And you're stuck trying to live up to that impossible standard.
It's like being born in the shadow of a goddamn mountain, host speaker. You can climb and climb, but you'll never reach the summit, host speaker. So how does a young guy handle that shit? Host speaker. Does he embrace the pressure, or does he just say, fuck it, and rebel?
It's probably a bit of both, expert speaker. There are times when he seems to be soaking up the spotlight, expert speaker, enjoying the perks that come with being a Beckham expert speaker. But then there are other times when he seems to be deliberately distancing himself from the family brand expert speaker, trying to prove he's more than just David Beckham's son.
It's a tough balancing act, man, host speaker. You want to honor your family, but you also want to be your own damn person, host speaker. It's not like he can just change his name and disappear, host speaker.
Yeah.
The Beckham legacy is going to follow him everywhere he goes.
Exactly, expert speaker. And that brings us to the other side of the coin, expert speaker. The opportunities that come with that name, expert speaker. The connections expert speaker. The access expert speaker. The doors that open just because you're a Beckham expert speaker. He's got advantages that most young players could only dream of.
It's like having a golden ticket to the chocolate factory.
Right.
Host speaker. But even Willy Wonka had some fucked up shit going on behind the scenes host speaker. So what's the price of admission for Romeo? Host speaker. What's the downside of all this privilege?
The scrutiny is relentless, expert speaker. Every move he makes is analyzed, expert speaker. Every mistake magnified, expert speaker. The expectations are sky-high, expert speaker. People expect him to be as good as his dad, expert speaker, which is just fucking ridiculous, expert speaker. It's a pressure cooker, expert speaker. Not everyone can handle that kind of heat.
So it's all worth it, host speaker. Is the privilege worth the pressure, host speaker? Is he better off being a Beckham or just being Romeo?
That's the question he has to answer for himself, expert speaker. There's no right or wrong answer, expert speaker. It's about finding a balance, expert speaker. Figuring out what truly matters to him, expert speaker. Is it about fame and fortune, expert speaker? Or is it about the love of the game?
It's a deep fucking question, man, host speaker. And it's not just about football, host speaker. It's about life, host speaker. About figuring out who you are, host speaker. And what you want.
Exactly, expert speaker. And I think that's what makes Romeo Beckham's story so fascinating, expert speaker. It's a reminder that even with all the money, expert speaker, the fame, expert speaker, the privilege in the world, expert speaker, life is still a journey, expert speaker, a struggle to find your own path.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners, host speaker? What can we learn from this whole Romeo Beckham saga?
I think it's a reminder that we all have our own mountains to climb, expert speaker, our own shadows to escape, expert speaker. Life is a fucking roller coaster, expert speaker, and it's up to each of us to figure out how to ride it.
Well said, my friend, host speaker. Well said, host speaker. All right, folks, that's it for our deep dive into the wild world of Romeo Beckham, host speaker. We've talked about his football journey, host speaker, his struggles, host speaker, his triumphs, host speaker, and the unique challenges he faces as the son of a global icon.
It's a story that's still unfolding, expert speaker, a journey that's far from over, expert speaker, and we'll be watching with bated breath to see where it leads.
So until next time, keep your heads up, your balls empty, and don't be afraid to tell the world to go fuck itself if that's what it takes to find your own path.